Jade.
Welcome everybody to another episode of the Rugby Scoop podcast. I am back with Jade Craig. Jade, how are things over on your side? How was the weekend? What have you been up to since we last spoke 2 weeks ago?
I've been hiding. After the drubbing in Wellington, you know what? And then, celebrating, because winning the Curry Cup, so it's annoyed last week that having the podcast last week to gloat about my hometown team winning the Curry Cup. I'm not going to stop. Gonna go on with it, bro. Gonna go on with it, and yeah, that's the point. Reliving that George White tape kick over and over and over and over. But don't worry, one day Border will win the Curry Cup.
One day Border will win the Curry Cup. One day is one day, Jade. One day is one day. The gardener, Hugh Griffin, joins us all the way from sunny England. How's it going, Hugh? How was the weekend? And obviously had a nice little break last week. Box obviously after hammering the All Blacks in Wellington. Wellington and Boland, by the way, because they've changed the cake tin to Boland, Wellington now, no longer in New Zealand anymore. How's it going, Griff?
All good, man. Good to be back. Good to be back on. Lots to talk about this weekend.
Plenty to chat about. John Mitchell, guys. John Mitchell has finally done it for England women's rugby team, winning the World Cup last night in England against Canada. I mean, Hugh, you've been following the World Cup, the Women's World Cup. Just maybe a brief summary of what you thought of the World Cup. I mean, there has been great attendance, great audience as well. I mean, it picked up a few numbers over the past couple of weeks. But yeah, it's been a great tournament and England have finally done it. I don't think it's any surprise for anybody who's been following the women's rugby circuit in the past couple of years and how strong and dominant this English side has been under John Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only surprise is that England didn't choke, which they do love to do. So, yeah, I think huge increase in interest in women's rugby. Certainly, I've seen it across my socials, my channels, seen it across some other things as well, that particularly after the semi-finals, maybe it started with the women box doing so much better than they have historically. That generated a lot of interest. And then once we got past, the semi-finals, I started seeing like my percentage views coming from Canada shoot up. There's actually been a lot of interest online from Blackbirds fans, so fair play to that. And of course, as you would expect, lots of interest from English fans. It sold out 82,000 fans in Twickenham watching a Women's World Cup final. By far the most that has ever turned up for a women's rugby match before. And yeah, it's been good fun. I think to anybody who maybe doesn't watch women's rugby, I would say that if you have in your head that you would think it would be slower than men's rugby, I'm here to tell you that it absolutely is not. I think the slowest average rug speed of any team in the Women's World Cup was 3.8 seconds. So I would say that women's rugby is actually faster than men's rugby. So if you tune into a women's rugby match, you will be definitely entertained. You won't see any caterpillar rocks, I promise you that.
No caterpillar rocks. But I like the fact that you mentioned the South African women's team, Jade. I mean, looking where our South African women's rugby has been over the past couple of years, I mean, really not in contention over the past couple of World Cups either, right? And to what Swayze has done with this group and reaching a quarterfinal for the first time, a playoff for the first time in the history of women's rugby in South Africa. I mean, what are your thoughts on the women's game in SA and the growth that we've seen in the 7s and in the 15s?
No, I must be, impressed with everything. I was chatting to Kyle Swart, brother, his wife Niket, last year or so. And he told me that after his sister, after Kyle finished the Olympics, she played hockey for South Africa. The Olympics, she focused attention fully on rugby. Now, strange decision, to be a dual code. To go from one sport we made the Olympic team and starting out rugby from scratch. And unfortunately, she was in the SA7s team and then she got injured and she had an ACL injury. But, just showing the attention to detail that's going in and the amount of effort they're putting in South African women's rugby is quite, impressive. I know the hard work they're doing it. The Bulls, I know they are what you can say professional, maybe the only professional union in South Africa. But also the headquarters, in Stellenbosch, what they're doing there. So for now, it's to kick on, Scoop. Now it's to kick on from this. I don't know if Swayze will still continue in his role. Maybe it'll be more advisory, but for now, it's to get the game growing at schools, to get, your top schools in Africa, top grade schools in Africa competing and playing, to break away from the stigma, that women's rugby is only for certain group of people, and entails certain sexuality and stuff like that. So we need to get away from everything over there, in that aspect. So we're going to have to grow it. Going to have to grow it at varsity level as well. We're going to have to really put some emphasis and focus on the varsity cup. And just look at what's the Faro Cup in New Zealand. Look at how that has grown. Look at the amount of attention and stuff is going in there into that. Get a few more games televised. Get a few more sponsors on board. So for me, that's where we're going to have to go now if we're going to really grow this game and kick on from there. Because if you look at the amount of money the English rugby team put into the women's game, or the English rugby union put into the women's game, it's evident. It's evident, and why they are successful. And you mentioned how good they were, and I just want to dwell on it because I can't say, because that's almost 60 games now. They've almost played 60 games as English women's rugby team, and they only lost one game, which was the World Cup final against New Zealand, where they played with 14 ladies on the field. So you can arguably put them up there as being one of the best sporting teams in history, with the run that they've been on, because they haven't been playing against a bad New Zealand team, a bad French team, etc., etc. And they've been playing in the Six Nations, they're playing the rugby in the World Rugby Tournament. So that's for South Africa now. They need to be a part of tournaments. They need to be playing the likes of New Zealand, Australia, Canada on a regular basis. Try and come to terms with Sansa to get some form of competition where they are involved in, trying to get the youth development right, trying to get the best athletes, that they can pick involved in rugby. Because if you look at what, especially on the Seven Circuit, you look at what Australia, New Zealand, France, has to offer in terms of athletes, and they're getting the best athletes to participate in playing sevens rugby, playing 15 ladies rugby. So for me, that's what South Africa needs to do now. And I'm pretty much sure, it's, they are on part of that. So we need to really, really try and promote this team within and try and get as much support as possible on board with this women's team.
Yeah, fair enough. There's plenty of work to be done, but congratulations, though, to England. First of all, congratulations to John Mitchell. He's also been named World Rugby Coach of the Year, Hugh. I thought these awards were, held at the end of the season, post the autumn series. And yeah, it's quite strange. But there's a guy like Kevin Foote as well, who won the under-20s World Cup. But I guess these decisions are made higher up within the rankings in World
They
Rugby.
gave the actual awards, like the trophies, on the pitch after the final. So I suspect that there was maybe they decided they wanted to give the presentations in this event. So they kind of made that decision. They also gave Braxton Sorensen-McGee from the Black Ferns, the Breakthrough Player of the Year, I think just once. But she is an incredible player. I want to shout at her. She is going to be New Zealand's record try scorer, men's or women's, by a lot. She's 18. She scored 11 tries in this World Cup.
Jeepers.
And when you watch her, we're going to talk a bit, I'm sure, in a moment about someone else like this. She's a bit like Sacha, where you watch and you're like, how can you be this talented? How can you just find what everyone else finds so difficult so easy? Also, another one, maybe this is one to discuss. You know how when the Springboks won the World Cup, Ardie Savea was given Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Well, when England won the World Cup just now, Sophie de Goody on the Canadian side was given World Player of the Year.
Oh.
So is there some kind of consolation prize thing going on here? I don't know.
Interesting. But would you say then she deservedly won?
No, I think she deserved it, though.
Fair.
I do think she deserved it. I should clarify that. I do think she was the best player of the world. And I'm not arguing that Ardi Sabir wasn't the best player of the world.
No. I get what you're saying.
I'm just saying that it's a coincidence.
I get what you're saying.
The team who lost the World Cup final has had the Player of the Year 2 World Cups in a row.
No, fair enough. Yeah, and moving along, CEO Edgar Rathbone wants the Vodacom Bulls to put up one of their best performances, but they are targeting Champions Cup this season. Is it possible, yay or nay, Jade?
Targeting Champions Cup. So the first target is to be in the tournament in March.
Well, we'll
it's a difficult tournament, bro. The problem is I don't see any of the South African teams challenging those French teams again. You know, it's just. I mean, you can speak more about it because I mean you've been covering French rugby and you're a serious advocate for French rugby. But yeah, for me, I think, and even if you look at, I know you won't like it or so, but I mean, if you look at a team like what the Exeter Chiefs have this year, at the start in their playing style this year, I mean, they also one that can do well in that tournament. But nah, Scoop. It's going to be difficult for them to target that tournament. They're going to get the balance right. They have to get that balance right. And for me, the first target is to be in that tournament in March, or in the quarterfinals or so, because we haven't seen the African teams really go deep in this tournament so far.
Yeah, fair. Nick Mullet believes Jan Hendrik Wessels could be the next Malcolm Marx. Do you see it, Griffin?
He needs to play hooker a bit more first for me to see it. I think he could be like a unicorn player. I think he might be ahead of his time in terms of being able to play potentially all 3 front row positions. And I think Grazi's even said that he can play lock as well. So I'm interested to see how he uses him. But
who said that a few weeks ago on this podcast that Rassi would use him as a unicorn player?
We have no idea who that person is.
Okay. And Jan Hendrik Wessels was a lock at school, so. Okay.
What a mess. What an absolute mess. The All Blacks will be without Bowden Barrett and Ethan de Groot, or de Groot as they call it in New Zealand, but it's de Groot in Dutch or Afrikaans if you prefer. So they won't be in Perth next week against the Wallabies in the second Bledisloe match up in Rugby Championship. Dan Carter, funny enough, that Sacha had a very good performance yesterday. Dan Carter is being honored by World Rugby as International Rugby Players Association Special Merit Award. I don't know what that means by World Rugby, but yeah, he's been given that. And now moving into URC, which kicked off this past weekend, just the results, and then we jump into the Springboks Argentina and the All Blacks versus Australia. So Lions losing to Cardiff. Hugh, I see that Welsh rugby is on the up again. 33-20. And then Connacht beating Benetton. Benetton were good starters last season. Off to a rocky start this weekend, losing to Connacht by 26-15. And then Zebre beating Edinburgh. 31-28. Ulster beating Dragons 42-21. Blue Bulls close, but copping a lot of points against Ospreys at home. Highveld has no edge over visiting teams anymore by the looks of things. The Scarlets losing to Munster 34-21 at home. And yeah, so next week, the Stormers. Can you believe it? I don't know who or what, but it looks like Dobbo really prepped well for this opening encounter, beating Leinster, the defending champions, 35-0. Sharks, not very good at traveling, losing to the Warriors 35-19. I don't know. Hugh, did you watch any games of URC this past weekend?
A couple. I've obviously watched my Scarlets against Munster. I was very impressed by Munster, obviously now coached by Clayton McMillan.
Yep.
Who's done a great job to come in. You know, he's not, I don't know how much of a preseason he will have had because he would have been with the Chiefs, of course, but very impressed, very physical, very organized. They looked sharp. They looked like they were a few games into the season, to be honest, whereas the Scarlets looks like it was their first game, which it was. I think, look, nobody saw that Stormers result coming.
No.
Because that was a decent Leinster team, a very decent Leinster team. There was Lions in that Leinster team.
Yes.
So that was a big surprise. Bulls, Ospreys, an unserious game. 93 points, 50-40. That's ridiculous. What's going on there? I was very impressed by some of the Bulls' new signings. There were Bulls number 19, the replacement lock came on earlier. I can't remember his name, but played very well. So that's kind of the main ones that I watched. Also, shout out Zebra getting a win, getting the season off to a winning start. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I think the Stormers is a big one for me, and maybe they're putting out a message quite early in the tournament that they're very serious, and racking up points at home is very important in this competition.
It's a good year for Adidas, Scoop. It's a great year for Adidas.
Not down under.
The Stormers and the Munster kits, both superb.
Not down under. But anyway, moving along, jumping into the Springboks against Argentina yesterday. Hugh, your thoughts on the game, your thoughts on Argentina, and then the Springboks and Sacha so far.
Unfortunately, this game was on at the same time as the World Cup final, and I watched most of that instead. I watched a lot of the second half of the Springboks. I watched some highlights as well. Been looking at the stats. This feels like the new Springboks now. I feel like that Eden Park defeat was the end of the old Springboks, and we're now on to the new Springboks with this. Someone pointed out, I think it was Rugby Bits pointed out, that this Springboks backline is going to be all centres. Like everybody apart from Cheslin in that backline was a centre. And just the skills on show, just absolutely fantastic. If you kind of rule out that one where Cheslin's kicked it straight to Chocobares on the line, that's not like a system issue. That's not a team failing. That's just a player having a meltdown in a moment. Complete dominance and a new way of playing. And so, what can we say about this game without talking about Sacha? The guy, people have been comparing this guy to Dan Carter, saying he could be the Springbok Dan Carter. Well, he's just given a performance where you can maybe start to think about comparing it to what Dan Carter did against the Lions. So we could just think about it. But even Money came off the bench, and I think if Money started this game, he scores a hat-trick as well, to be honest.
Yeah, fair. I think just watching, I had to catch up with the games this morning. I mean, I think it's also nice to watch a game without any emotions involved. You already know what the scoreline looks like. You're just looking at tactical things pretty much, right? And first half, I thought, it was evenly balanced. Both teams really, really, really targeting that breakdown. And I think Argentina were just causing and were just being a nuisance in the breakdown in that first half. And then things kind of fell apart when it comes to Argentina, brain farts on D, and just missing tackles. Both teams kind of missed a lot of tackles during the game, but I think Argentina more so, right? And sometimes, and also there was this one thought that crossed my mind while watching the game, and I thought, Argentina, when they play against the All Blacks, like the likes of your Pablo Monteras, really, really, really show up. And then out of the blue, when they play against the Springboks, it's quite a different approach, or I would like to call Pablo Montera like almost a Temu Montera, man, when he plays against the Springbok. He's nowhere when he plays against the Springboks.
Well, I think he scored against them. Remember, they beat them last season. So
Springboks.
No, yeah, in Argentina.
Yeah.
Springboks in Argentina. So I think let's wait and see what happens next week.
In Twickenham. Yeah, but it's a response now at the end of the day. But this is the game you probably wanted to see them probably rise up, because in the first half, you probably had a feeling that, it's going to be one of those games that goes down to the wire, but it really didn't live up to that in the second half. And looking at the Springboks, not taking anything away from them and their performance, I look at Wellington, similar storyline, right? First half, very tight, very competitive. things tend to open up in the second half in Wellington as well, or the last 10 to 15 minutes in Wellington where the Springboks just ran away with the game. And it's a similar storyline against Argentina in Durban. Close first half, first 40 minutes, and then the last 20 or last 30 minutes, they kind of run away with the game. Because I think if Argentina probably hung on a bit for that first 20 in the second half, make it a really good contest, then you can probably put yourself in a good position to try and win a game or try and get close to the box. But I mean, with the talent that the Springboks had on that pitch, and obviously the individual brilliance from not just Sacha, but like all the other players, your Peter Steph Dutoys came into the fray. Sia Kolisi was also in the mix. Your Kenan Moody was in the mix as well. You had Willemse also in the mix, razzle dazzling. And then Sacha kind of took the game away completely against Argentina. I mean, for me, his standout was when he saw the gap in the backfield and kicked that ball into no man's land. And there was literally not even one Argentine player close to that ball.
Is unbelievable.
That for me was just crazy. That was just nuts, to be honest.
And
but I mean,
pace to do it as well. Did you see the way he told Moody, "Don't touch it"?
Don't touch it. He's like, "Don't touch the ball. Don't touch the ball. I'm ready to pick this up and score the try," which was good at the end of the day. And then he sold a 360 dummy close to the goal line as well. Yeah, Argentina, man, come on, close to that. In that area, that was just poor defense as well at the end of the day. Jade, your thoughts?
Scoop, I hear what you're saying, and as much as we can say, Argentina were poor, Argentina, they were in this game. The first, they were frustrating the Boks. But the thing that we have to take note now of the Boks is that how they adjusted off time. And, the coaching IP they have now with Rassie and Tony Brown and also Felix Jones, now they can make adjustments in the game to come out in that first 5 minutes after halftime and really take, the game of the scrap of the heat and blast teams, They actually make teams forget of what the opposition goes. So I don't think in a Wellington test, Robinson or Contemporanean yesterday went out and said, guys, let's change this or that. They said, okay, let's more of the same, let's do more of the same. And the way the Boks can adjust, to change this and to take that tempo up and raise their game after halftime, that's actually scary at the moment, School. It's actually scary. I mean, look at the adjustments they made. They started running the ball more back. They knew Argentina, the exits from Carreras and from the scrum up wasn't good enough. They were kicking the ball flat at times. We're trying to keep box kicks. Ball wasn't going 10 meters. So they knew from there he has a chance, The kick chase wasn't good. So, and that's why Sacha and Willemse, came into their own. They knew it. They also knew that Argentina had the ball, but they couldn't get line breaks really. They weren't really making any meters. They were getting penalties here at breakdown. They were getting a lot of penalties for side and all of that, but they weren't really having any line breaks. Chocobaras wasn't really as effective as he normally had been. So the way the Boks set up and the way the Boks came out after and the second week in the row, School, you got to give it to the coaching staff. You got to see and you got to realize what's good at the Boks are on the field. They've got a really, really, really good coaching staff in that Boks. We've seen it in those years with Hansen and Co. When Hansen had Smith and all of them there at the halftime, the last 20 minutes, all guys would run away with the game because of the tactical changes they made at the halftime. But you're seeing it now with the Boks as well. The message and the way they can adapt the game. For guys like Marks and Peter Step the Toy, just to change the game, playing closer to the ball, running off shoulders, more pop passes, going to the gap, looking to put in the next one through. That was the try from, I think it was a try from the Allendo. I can't remember. But it was just non-stop offloads, running off shoulders, running at different angles, getting the ball into space, playing, looking over your shoulder, look who's there. That was something we really haven't seen from the Boks. And it's really the soft skills from, having a skills coach and a backline coach like Tony Brown is really paying dividends for this team now. And you can see it with those forwards, you can see it. I never dreamt of the day we would have people like Peter Step the Toy, Friend Tipon or Thomas the Toy, with showing soft hands in the backline. And for me, that's really, really encouraging for the African rugby. So yeah, as much as we can say, Argentina, they, how they are. They might just come up next week at Twickenham and beat the Boks because that's just the team they are. But as bad as they were yesterday, but you have to give credit for the Boks 2 weeks in a row for adjusting at halftime. And I must actually put my hand up here. I don't know if it happened with you as well. I saw the penalty try where Moss got a yellow card and I thought, okay, well, this is halftime. Let me change over to the women's final. And when they changed back in the second half started, now where did this try come from? So I actually missed the second try from Sacha, But the Boks scored 3 tries, I think, with playing with 14 men. And that shows it just shows how they can adjust, It just shows how they can adjust. So for me, Scoop, at the end of the day, we can praise Sacha's performance. We can praise, the performance of the likes of Peter Stefferso, but the coaching performance and the way they can adjust and adapt, change, make tweaks, tactical tweaks at halftime. That's really promising for this Bok coaching staff at the moment, who's actually filled with a lot of IP in their coaching staff at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. You wanted to jump in?
Yeah, well, I just want to say what I liked about this Springbok performance and what they did on the field was it was always going forwards. There was no side to side. So the Boks carried something like 118 times in this game. They only passed 128. So it's not like they were spraying the ball around left, right, and centre and just overplaying at any point. It was always going forwards. They kicked like 120 or so times. Sorry, they passed 120 or so times, but kicked 40 times, 40 kicks. So their kick to pass ratio was something like 3 or 3.5. So it was always just forwards, go forwards, go forwards, go forwards. There was no going through the phases. In terms of what they choose to spend their energy on, they don't waste energy rucking. They don't waste any energy not going forwards. It's all find the spaces, kick in behind. Let's get down that end of the pitch. And I think out of 10 22-meter entries, they scored 9 tries. It's unbelievable. That's incredible numbers. Really, really scary. And then just my final thing I want to say is that yes, this game is all about Sacha. What a phenomenon! But it's still Willemse is the secret. Damien Willemse is the secret. So when Sacha's doing his thing, Sacha's point of difference is his running threat, which when you're scoring hat tricks, fine, like no problem. But he only passed the ball 6 times in this game. It's a fly half who's passing the ball just 6 times. So who passes the ball instead? Willemse does. Willemse is the guy who steps in to control. When Sacha is doing these incredible solo things, the guy who's running the team is Damien Willemse. No Willemse, no party.
Sacha, yeah, against the minnows. Yeah, Jade, coming back to your point, actually, regarding the coaching staff. Yeah, I think, like I said, I've noted as well that the type of shift or the type of different style that the Boks brought in Wellington in that second half. Because, I mean, if you look at the similarities in Wellington, I mean, they were down by 3 points or something. It was 10-7 or something like that, right? And then coming back in the last 15 to kind of change the dynamic and change the way the game is played. And you look at this part, yesterday, similar story. But also, man, I think just also having the personnel within the Boks. I mean, when money came on, there's still a matter of good go forward for the Springboks, and money also kind of doesn't change too much of the picture and too much of the style, but he also adds a bit of an ingredient on top of the current ingredients that are in the pot already, right? And Mani Libok as well probably doesn't get a lot of credit for the type of game plan he also introduces to the Boks, or the type of skill set he brings on to the team as well. I mean, yeah, the game, it's very good to have all the intel sitting in the box at the top, because at the same time, I mean, we've spoken about how good this Argentine backline is the past couple of weeks, and probably being one of the stronger backlines in terms of connectivity, in terms of managing to create extra man in those backs. But then yesterday, we didn't see a lot of that. Out of nowhere, Argentina didn't look like a team that was smooth, gelling. The team that we saw play against Australia, the team that we saw play against the All Blacks, all of a sudden, all of those things kind of disappeared. And yeah, then now I sit back and I'm like, okay, what could be the issue where Argentina didn't get a lot? I mean, it's not like the Boks had a very strong line speed against them as well. I mean, they still scored 30 points against the Springboks, but something was not gelling within the Argentine. Either the forward pack was not giving a good platform, and also their 9 was not as explosive as we've seen him in the past as well, right? And like I said, there was a bit of a breakdown fight between the two teams. Argentina were committing a lot of people, and the Springboks were also not backing off or backing down in that challenge. But Jade, when you look at a guy like Monet van der Berg coming in, or van der Berg coming in, he looked a bit jittery for me, static, and there wasn't a bit of flow. But luckily, you still had the experience of your Kwaka Smith coming in. You had your Manili Box coming in, so that at least there was a bit of balance there. But if it was a new fly off, I don't think. Yeah, man, I don't think he's there, Monet van der Berg, because when I watch him come on, I thought, the Boks don't have that same flow they had for the past 60 minutes in this game. I don't know what you think of Monet van der Berg as a 9 for the Springbok team.
I think, he will grow into the jersey. He was given the opportunity. But then how many more opportunities we can get? Because, Reinach proves, that he should be in 23, match day 23, and obviously you have Grant Williams there as well. So I think those are the two that you really work on. And what's this kid's name? It's got the Lions now. Well, that one, another 20 player, Dashim Pitt. He's also one, that Rassi will have a look at, and if you use those times. So how many games are they going to take for Mornay to grow into the jersey? If they were playing France tomorrow, would he be in the 23? I don't think so. I think Reinach and Grant Williams would be the two, if they're both fit. So that's how I feel. But then again, Scoop, what I do like of Rassi is, and I seen it yesterday. Last year we were stating that JC Kriel is arguably one of the best teams in the world. And this year we're talking high about Caden Moody. And, Caden Moody, how old is he now? 22, 23. And he's the one that talks on defense. He's the talker, he's the communicator. I saw yesterday in the boxing huddle, he was the one, giving the team talk on defense. That's the amount of confidence, that Rassi and Sia and Eben and those guys install in these youngsters, that's coming in and taking on the roles in the group. So for me, more than when he comes in the team, does he have that leadership, that Kobus Reinach, we know Grant Williams can do it as well. Does he have that leadership, to drive the team forward? I'm not sure if he's there yet, in terms of leadership, but you've seen like I said, what Reinach, what Grant Williams does, how they move the team forward, and also what kind of Moody did yesterday. So I'm talking of that. Does he have that? Can he get the guys up? When they're not going their way. So yeah, Scoop. I don't know. I think that the one to watch is Pete. He's one to check in the next 2 years or so how he does develop. But Van der Berg will be there about for in the squad. We'll see how he does develop, but he needs to take his opportunities, because I think if they're going to play France tomorrow, I think it will be Reinach and Grant Williams will be the 1 and 2 scrum offs playing that game.
I think we have to give Reinach credit. How many people would have said that he'd be the Boks' best scrum half coming into this season? I think Dobbo would be very happy seeing his halfback pairing of Reinach and Sacha going very well. They'll be rubbing his hands together. Think what they would have done to Leinster if those two have been playing.
Oh. Cheapest. Yeah. That would definitely. I think the Stormers, I just need to see what their forward pack is doing, because I think last year we spoke a lot about them and the forward pack, right? And I don't think they made a lot of reinforcement or got a lot of acquisition regarding new players coming through, and obviously heavy bodies coming through. I think Ackerman has joined them as well as a flanker, but front row, I think that will be important. One of the guys on this pod has got his profile has one of the props from the Springboks that you probably require. But nonetheless, I think when it comes to the forward pack and Stormers rugby, I think it will be very important for them to kind of really, really, really get good reinforcement there. We saw how they got obliterated at Warriors in one of the quarterfinals. So it's not nice to see, basically.
Well, they've signed Wilco Lowe for next season.
Not this season.
Not this season.
You see what I mean? But yeah, nonetheless, I think you and Jade are coming to the Springboks. We've pretty much covered everything regarding this past weekend's game. It'll be very interesting going into Twickenham. Where's your money on, Jade?
Whoa.
Yeah?
We can't stop it there. I can't stop it there. I have to give a shout out to John Allen and Warren Brits for their awesome punditry in the week, at the talk show, claiming that they would have started under Pollard instead of Sacha because Sacha has to win and it's going to cost them the game. So, guys,
Oof.
so watching that highlight,
Where is this thing coming from?
Oh, it was at the talk show, man, and to something they had, in Durban.
Oh my
John
God.
Allen and Warren Prince stated that they would have started Pollard instead of Sacha because Sacha.
Isn't John Allen like a million years old?
I think so, dude. I think he is like a million years old, I mean,
Jeez.
yeah.
He used to is Zimbabwe, no? Originally. And then he moved to SA.
No, Scottish. He's Scottish.
Is he?
He played for both. He played for Scotland as well.
Ah.
Sure.
One of
That
those
doesn't mean
like,
doesn't mean he's not from Zimbabwe.
For somebody to break the record and score 37 points.
well, I'm sure Sacha probably watched that tape and he was like, yeah. And also Venkhat, for guys that don't know, is arrogance, by the way. Just to translate for Griffin and our international listeners. So someone is calling Sacha very arrogant, etc., etc. And also when they're talking about what's this thing? Talking about percentage rugby and Collins and consolidating the team and patience rugby and kicking to the corners. Sacha was kicking to the corners and he was collecting and regathering his own kicks at the end of the day. I don't know, man. It's just those guys, I mean, are old school. Can't take them really seriously. They were playing rugby in the 1900s. So they passed. I mean, they still look at rugby like it should be played when Nasporta was playing at 10, for example. So Skop and Yach kick and chase all day. The Boks are still playing kick and chase, but they're retrieving all their kicks at the same time. So we can't be listening to guys like that. I mean, whatever.
He kicked to the corner, but he caught it before it went out and scored a try.
Exactly. So those guys don't understand such plays, and individual brilliance is not a big thing for them. So, he's not a team player, this and that. Whatever, man. Get over it. You've got a brilliant 10, probably the best 10 you'll ever see in a Springbok jersey for a very long time, to be honest. Somebody who can kick for balls, someone who can really be a general on the pitch, your quarterback, if you prefer, someone who has brilliant skills, who's got very good footwork, is very quick as well. I think he can even play at wing if we want. He's got good aerial skills as well. He's got great vision, to be honest. So he's got it all. And he's probably the best 10 South Africa has ever had at this point, and already you can't even compare him to a Pollard. Pollard doesn't give you anything close to what Sacha offers on the pitch, to be honest. And Mani also doesn't compare either. But I think this is the best 10 that South Africa has had in a very, very long time. And no one even comes close. Not even a Henry Halliball, not even a Joel Stransky, not even a Yanni De Beer, not even who's a coach for the thing, Jade, coaching the Pumas, not Pumas, the club in Northwest. Who was that guy? Andre, yes, Pretorius. I think he would have been close. Or a Brent Russell. But now a bigger version of Brent Russell is Sacha. Yeah?
Sacha can run anything. He's an all-rounder. He can run and he can kick. Because Sacha has the potential to be a 90% plus goal kicker as well. People forget that.
Yeah, 100%.
He's got a bigger kicking.
Did you see he was hitting them against the post on purpose?
Like for me, Scoop, the performance yesterday gave me vibes of, Bowden Barrett against the Wallabies in the 2017 Bledisloe or 2016 Bledisloe. He scored 4 tries and, he just destroyed the Wallabies on the day. He ran with the ball, he kicked, he put in cross kicks. So I think Sacha, you have to put him in that caliber. He's there, like, I would say a Bowden Barrett, Stephen Larkham running with the ball like that. He's like that. I don't think South Africa really realized what they do have in Sacha.
Yeah.
If it was anywhere else around the world, the team would have been focused around him. He would have been, the poster boy at the moment. And if South Africa nurture him well, there's no reason why he can't achieve what they've got to achieve, because I see it. a lot of that. It's just, does he have that mentality when they do? They are going to start to figure him out. They are going to start to play the game around him. Serious, Dan Carter was targeted, Johnny Wilson was targeted, but they stood up.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they stood up. So when Sacha does get targeted, when he's going to get a few foul plays against him, somebody will get so excited for punching him in the face or doing something against him. How is he going to? No, but it's just the game. How is he going to react? And that's going to be the test. When they do find a few shortfalls with him, how is he going to react and adjust his game? So that's when you're going to get it, and that's when the media and everybody will go on and see. I told you so. I told you so. He's not all that, but how is the public going to support him? How are they going to stand behind him? Because we've seen it already in South Africa. Siya Kolisi has 1 or 2 bad games. What happened? Everybody's he's not fit. If he wasn't captain, he shouldn't have played.
Yeah,
he's only captain. He plays 15 minutes. Cheslin Colby, they stated the other day that Cheslin Colby is a brilliant rugby player, but he's done nothing at club level, to warrant him being, the World Rugby Player of the Year. Why is there always a but when you talk about a good player in South Africa? Why must there always be a but? Instead of just looking at all of the positives. At the end of the day, that's what you're going to have to do with Sacha. You're going to have to really back this boy. If you really want him to reach the heights that Dan Carter and Johnny Wilkerson achieved.
No, fair enough.
Thank God he's not English, is all I'll say.
Oh, wow. Imagine. Anyway, moving along, guys. Jade, continuing with the conversation. Bledisloe Cup has been retained. Eden Park record hasn't been broken. Razor's team, Clunky, as usual. So nothing changed. And nothing has changed this weekend. Your thoughts on these All Blacks?
Oh, I feel actually worse after yesterday's performance and what I felt at the Wellington game. Because after the Wellington game, I knew what needed to change. And when I saw yesterday, I realized that he's not going to change anything. He's really not going to change anything. We spoke now about a guy by the name of Caden replacing Jesse Crew, and what a performance he had. Billy Brock has had 7 games now for the All Blacks. He's out of depth at international level. He's not giving other guys a chance. He's sticking to what he knows, what he believes in. This is Razor. They can't adapt. There's no attack shape really for me. I mean, if it was not for Sacha's performance yesterday, Cam Roygaard would have got the performance of the weekend, right? Good for his performance yesterday against Australia.
Yeah.
And I mean, that just shows you how good, Sacha's performance was yesterday. But Cam Roygaard was outstanding yesterday again. And, for one guy to come in and make such a difference, and if it wasn't for Cam Roygaard, maybe Ori Savia and Cody Taylor, I don't see this. If one of those 3 get injured, there's no replacement in the All Black team. I don't see them adjusting their game plan or adjusting their playing style to replace those guys. Not saying there's no talent. I'm not saying there's guys not coming through. But what I'm saying is, Razor's downfall is his stubbornness. He's not going to change. The Wallabies this weekend with the Bledisloe in Perth, they get Skelton back, they get Valentini back, they get Nick White back.
Yeah.
Now, come I tell you what, that's 15 points extra. Those 3 guys give you. Do the All Blacks have it in them to get 15 more points to beat this team, to beat the Wallabies? I don't think they'll beat Australia. I don't think so. I think Australia's going to beat them on Saturday in Perth. I honestly think so. Australia looks sharper. They play, their structure is much better. Their centers, their backline is much more exciting. They look better on, in certain aspects. The only reason Australia didn't win this game yesterday was 2 things. They started slow, and they only had line speed in the second half, to cut down the All Blacks. The All Blacks play laterally, making passes and relying on individual brilliance. Now, is it going to change, Scoop? I don't think it's going to change. I think you're going to see this All Black performance right on to until the 2027 World Cup. We spoke about it. We said that the guys like Scott Hansen, Jason Holland, out of their depth. There's no international experience coaching. But yet these guys are not being innovative to come up with something new. When it's match day. Yesterday, the only difference they had yesterday was they started fielding a few aerial balls, which was fine. I mean, and then Caleb Clark went off, and Quinto Paya came on. But I mean, they adjusted the game a little bit. But if you look at it, a guy like Jody Barrett is clearly told by Reiser and his staff to play to a certain structure. The time yesterday where Jody Barrett had the opportunity to express himself, it ended up with being Cam Roycott's try that basically sealed off the game. So all these guys being told to stick to play to the structure, one dimension, playing the ball out wide rugby. I don't know, Scoop. I don't know. I don't see if Reiser doesn't get people in that's going to challenge him, there's no way he's going to catch up with the Boks. 3 weeks ago, they beat South Africa. 3 weeks later, South Africa is 5 years ahead of them now because of the way they adjusted the game. It just shows you how quickly you can fall behind the 8 ball in international rugby. And I don't think Reiser has the personality to adapt because I'm looking at it. Somebody asked me, somebody said to me yesterday, they wish that Jamie Joseph gets international jobs so that Tony Brown can give the Boks and join Johnny Joseph because of he's making the Boks too strong. And I'm thinking to myself, who is there that Reiser can bring in to help him? And I could be mentioned the likes of Robbie Deans, David Rennie, all of those guys that can help the backline. But Reiser's not going to bring in anybody. Unfortunately, it's going to be like this unless New Zealand Rugby step in and appoint somebody on their behalf like they did with Foster, where they brought in Ryan and they brought in Schmidt. I don't think there's going to be any changes, Scoop. Bowden Barrett's out next week. He's not going to play. And the Groot's not going to play. Now, Bowden Barrett's not playing next week. That means Damien McKenzie starts at 10 and Ruben Love gets an opportunity. What happens if Ruben Love plays the house down next week? Does he have that in him? In the first game?
Wait. Why D-Mac at 10? Why not Ruben Love at 10?
But what I'm saying is, Scoop, right, if he does start Ruben Love at 10, what happens if he plays the house down next week? Is Reiser going to keep him in for the first test in the Northern Hemisphere tour?
He won't.
Bowden is fit again. He won't. Because he won't make changes. When you're going to see Lester Faina Nuku at 13? Because they're screaming, the team needs him at 13. Everybody can see that he's the guy that needs to be at 30. Reiser still hasn't played him. He's been a part of the squad. I mean, he had Tava Nawa in there for how long? Never gave him opportunity. Gave him 10 minutes. So,
why not Jody Barrett? Why not Jody Barrett at 13 and Leicester at 12?
Don't ever think Jody Barrett's played 13. I don't ever think he's played 13. I know
give me Jody 10, Tava Nawa 12, Leicester 13, and I'll show you a team to check.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter who mentioning who can play there or what is the change. And looking at the style that's going on, because Scoop, I mean, you've been following the NPC. Yeah, it's a big drop down, from Super Rugby and international rugby. But I'm looking at the playing style and the skill level, the one-on-one skill level, how these players are beating the other one, how they're looking for space and, getting into space. And you don't see it, at this international level. So it's a big difference between the two in the coaching styles, I think the biggest mistake that Reiser made now and New Zealand Rugby made now, they allowed too many coaches to leave the country. Because in South Africa, I mean, all we knew is only Franco Smith, Van Graan, Ackerman, that wasn't really in the country. But if you're looking at New Zealand, who's not there, who's not working on a day-to-day basis at franchise level, at international level as well. You're looking at your likes of Robbie Deans, you're looking at Hansen, Foster, Clayton McMillan, Dave Rennie, Pat Lamb. Those are top international coaches, They could really, one or two of them could sit in the coaching box and give Reiser some advice. So, that's...
Warren Gatland is free.
Warren Gatland as well. Even though he hasn't been the greatest of late, but I mean, the amount of IP those guys have, to adjust to situations. We spoke now, the Boks adjust. The All Blacks haven't adjusted. They've been going the same. We've been hearing Scott Hansen saying at halftime check. Yeah, we just need to tweak the breakdown here or there and be fine. He's happy with the pictures they're showing. What pictures are they showing? Is he seeing pictures of the 2015 World Cup? Is that the pictures he's seeing? Because I'm not seeing the pictures he's seeing. But I understand what I'm saying. Look at you sitting in Australia's box. You have Tom Donnelly, you have Joe Schmidt, and you have Mike Tron. Now, Australia has always been weak scrummages. I mean, they've been torn apart. But come and give you a stat quickly. They're the only team in the Rugby Championship at the moment. They have 100% ratio at scrum time on their own ball. 100% scoop. So on their own ball, They've never conceded a penalty. They've never got a turnover. The Boks have had turnovers, All Blacks had turnovers, and Argentina. So that's an impressive stat, you know. That's
It's the referee helping them out. That's what that is.
Referee or not, you know, it's still a massive impressive stat, you know, for my Tron. So, Scoop, that's what I'm looking at this team. I would love to hear your thoughts on them because I mean, you'll be beating on the same ground. I'd love to hear your thoughts on them.
No. I mean, you mentioned some valid points regarding this. I mean, if we compare the two teams, just Australia and New Zealand at the moment, look at where Australia were last year and look at where Australia are this year. Look where the All Blacks were last year. Look where All Blacks are this year. I mean, this question both of you can actually even answer this. I mean, looking at these two teams in the past 2 years, last year versus this year, Australia last year versus this year, New Zealand. I mean, who would you say has shown better improvement and is literally on a trajectory that's literally going upwards, you know? Because the All Blacks, it feels like they're on a Table Mountain flatbed, basically. They've kind of plateaued. There's no real surge. There's no real growth that we've seen or I have seen in the past 2 years. And I think the Wellington loss has just made things even worse because now they've become very conservative. Just looking at the game they played against Australia yesterday. So there's a lot of things that are happening. And for now, I've like, you know what? Actually, let me see how these guys play. I'm not watching with any emotions. Just looking at what style they're trying to play, what game they try. I mean, you were leading by 20 points to 3 at one point. 20 points to 3. Australia, out of the blue, in the last 10 minutes of the first half, they cut that down to a 17 to 20 point lead. And I'm like, how on earth are you leading by 20 points and you still cannot try and build on that scoreboard pressure? Because at the end of the day, if you've got a 20-point lead, which means there's a lapse of concentration, there's no clear goal or clear understanding on what to do next with a lead like that, right? So these are just simple aspects, simple things that coaching staff need to really take accountability for. Because if there's no clear direction on 20 points to 3 up, because I don't care, man. If you get a penalty, go for poles. Make it 23-3. Go for more poles. Make it 26, 29. You're just building scoreboard pressure the whole freaking time. And by the time Australia step out of the changing room in the second half, it's a long way to go to get to 29 or 30 points or 27 points to score, at Eden Park, right? So these things are like small little things or small little steps that you can take going forward. But I mean, very conservative, not enough. What can I say? Like the direction is not good in terms of Bowden Barrett getting that backline to freaking flow. They don't flow at all with Bowden Barrett at 10. I'm sorry. That's why I'm really an advocate now for Ruben Love at 10. So we can see what he can offer us. I mean, give him a run in Perth. You've already secured the Bledisloe Cup. So what matters now? Yes, he probably just wants to win. He doesn't care how the win is going to come. He'll probably start conservatively and put Damian McKenzie because he wants to play buddy with the players. I mean, give Ruben Love that 10 jersey. Give Ruben Love the authority to work with Cam Roygaard, who he plays with at Wellington, right? And then you have Jordy Barrett right next to Ruben Love, who's a senior, who can also kind of give him some direction. And he's a Wellington player as well. 9, 10, 12, 13 will all come from the same union of franchise. So why not give those guys a go? Because they're all used to each other. I think the communication within that backs will be much more clearer. Because these guys are used to each other. They know how to connect. They know which areas to target within that Australian backline. Len Ikitau is having a storm of a season. He's having a wonderful time at 12. I think he's one of the best 12s in the world currently. The amount of carries he makes. That's such a huge difference. The amount of bodies he takes with him on the carry. The amount of offloads. Popping up in areas where you least expect him. He'll be part of the one ruck the one time. The next time he's catching a pass on an access behind a player, screen plays. He's doing so much, Len Ikitau, at 12. And when I look at Jordy Barrett as well, I'm like, look at the different types of plays these 212s are offering. Okay, anyway, that's enough rant. You jump ahead.
So for me, you talk about what changed. How did they let the lead slip and things? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. Bowden Barrett went off. So with first 25 minutes, Bowden Barrett was on the pitch. All Blacks scored 3 tries. You saw what he was doing. He put 3 bombs up on Max Jorgensen. Max Jorgensen playing at fullback, I think for the first time for the Wallabies at least. He looked out of sorts. He looked like a fish out of water. I think they lost all 3 of those bombs. The All Blacks get the ball back, go on to score. In those first 25 minutes, Bowden Barrett kicks the ball 4 times. In the subsequent 55 minutes, when Bodie went off and DMAC came on, DMAX kicks the ball 3 times. So Bodie's finished the game with more kicks. This is what I've said. I'm repeating myself on previous pods. Check the tapes. We've got the data on DMAC now, and we know it doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. I've seen the experiment is over. So I'm ready to say, okay, Ruben Love, come on down. DMAC,
thank you.
You've had your chance. You're not the guy. Like the All Blacks had 48% of their possession in Australia's 22 in this game. Okay, but they only had 9 entries. So what's going on? So they're getting down there into the 22, and then they're spending loads of time down there. And by spending loads of time down there, I don't mean crossing the try line, because if you cross your try line, it's over. No more possession. You go back, you restart. So they're getting down there, and then they're staying down there and not scoring. The All Blacks, again, this is the problem that we see every time. Damian McKenzie is at 10 for the All Blacks. 241 passes. Again, no one else is doing this. Literally twice as many passes as what the Springboks are doing. They're getting down into the 22. They're staying there. They're passing the ball from one touchline to the other, and they're going back again. They're working so hard for their tries. This is like, go back to the series against France. They're working. Tries are coming so much more difficult to the All Blacks than to other teams. And like I said, first 25 minutes, 3 tries, 20 points to 3 up, as you say, Scoop. From then on, as soon as Bodie comes off, with DMAC at 10, the score is 24-14 or 21-14 to the Wallabies. That's away from home. By the way, that's with James O'Connor missing 2 penalty kicks to touch and generally not having a great game. James O'Connor, I can see why he's playing. And don't get me wrong, I think Tom Lino has been struggling. I think Tane Edmund isn't ready. Sure. So it has to be James O'Connor, but I don't think James O'Connor had a great game yesterday. I've got to be honest. So that's what I think. DMAC, when he came on, he tried 1 bomb on Jorgensen. It went too long.
I saw that.
And he didn't do it again for the rest of the game. From 30 minutes on, that tactic that was working brilliantly, that led to 3 tries in the first 25 minutes, they abandoned it because DMAC got it wrong once and didn't do it again for 50 minutes.
And why? But why?
In this rarefied air scoop, he's struggling to breathe. What can I say?
Wow. At this level, guys. And I think, that's a very good point as well. And rightfully so, Hugh. You've mentioned it so many times. Over 200 passes. The All Blacks are just making things more difficult for themselves rather than making things easier for themselves. The aerial bombs work, guys. It's proven. The recipe is there. The aerial bombs work. Put the team under pressure. Put a nice aerial bomb that's contestable, unlike the one DMAC kicked where Jorgensen caught it without even having to jump, and there was literally nobody around him to put pressure. And the kicks, guys, they're only as good as the chaser. That's the only way. That is the only way. We need Ruben Love to start for the All Blacks on Saturday, and also he needs to start in the autumn series in the UK over the winter, over this end of the year tour. He needs to get a run at 10. There's no 2 ways about it. If he needs instructions, give him the instructions. This is the area where we kick. This is the area where we run the ball. And this is the area where you have freedom to play. That's it. That is it. direct this ship into the right direction, direct this ship into the right areas, drive this team. You know, you've got Cam Roigard, who's always going to be a threat. And then if you have Ruben Love at 10, who can also be a threat with running ball, that's a second threat. You have Geordie Barrett, who can also be a threat with ball. That's three threats already, you know? And that's within close quarters around the breakdown as well. Or close quarters after at set piece time as well. So use them to their best ability. I don't feel like some of these players are being used to the best of their ability at all. Zero. But at least the guys are getting game time. I mean, for the 11 jersey at this point, in the past 2 to 3 weeks, we've seen two different players play in that jersey, and all of a sudden, tries are being scored. When was the last time we saw Rico Ioane scoring loads of tries in that jersey? He needs to sit next week out as well, because Carter is doing so great on D, on attack, and putting teams under pressure. He's really dedicated once he puts on that jersey. I think those are the players you kind of want now in the system. It's a pity Caleb Clark had to walk off with an injury, because he was really getting good go forward. He really carries the ball up well for the All Blacks. He's a real good ball carrier. And the more ball he gets, the more advantage New Zealand get over 2 meters, 3 meters, once he carries the ball, giving them good go forward, which is what you need from your wingers. But at this point, I don't know. Tupovai is working by himself in the breakdowns. I mean, yeah.
Where would the All Blacks be without Tupovai?
Wow.
Where would they be?
Struggling. I can tell you that much. Struggling big time. Because now Barrett is probably going to come in next week, and Tupovai won't be playing next week. And let's see how that line out goes, actually, without Vai at lock. Good to see Paddy Tuipolotu coming back, at least. And I think New Zealand need... who's that hooker? Jade at Wellington.
Asafu Amor.
Yeah, I think I need to see Asafu Amor back at hooker, because at least I think that we need a bit of explosive. I know Cody Taylor is good and everything, but Cody Taylor, Patrick Tuipolotu, Bowden Barrett, these guys, if they come off the bench, I think that gives New Zealand a bit of rejuvenation, for lack of a better word. Because if you think about it, the experience and the quality that will come off the bench, you start an Asafa Amua at hooker, you know, you start a Ruben Love at 10, you know, you start a Tupovai or Barrett or whoever in the locking position, but then you have a Paddy Tuipolotu coming off, you have a Bowden Barrett coming off the bench, you have a Cody Taylor coming off the bench. This will probably guide them in the right channels where they need to, if they need like that resurgence, they need that upliftment in that last 15 to 20 minutes, and you have this kind of caliber or quality coming off the bench, this could be the direction I think the All Blacks should go, personally. Anyway, last thoughts, guys, last comments about the weekend, and obviously predictions for next week. You can start off, Hugh.
Well, I'm currently planning to be at Box versus Argentina in Twickenham. I'm looking forward to it a lot. Stay tuned for the vlog. But don't be surprised if the Argies turn it around. They love it. They absolutely would love it. And I'm backing Australia to beat the All Blacks in Perth. Honestly, if there's no Bodie to come off the bench and he starts DMAC, I'm sorry, DMAC, I've been horrible to you, but this is what I think.
Jade.
You know, I actually agree with you there. You know, in cricketing terms, Pakistan and Argentina are the same. You know, 1 week they can be absolutely brilliant, and the next week they can be beaten by 50, 60 points. So I think don't be surprised if Argentina comes back next week, you know, and put in a performance, beat the Box. But I thought in the Box will win the Rugby Championship regardless, because I do not see New Zealand going to Perth and winning next week. I think Australia will get it done. I think they'll prepare better. We'll have Valentini, Skelton, you know, coming back into the team.
Yeah.
Nick White will be there as well. So for me, I mean, if we're looking at New Zealand, it's going to might be without Tupovai as well. Although, I mean, Fabian Warren has been playing very, very good rugby as well. But I don't see Razor changing. I think he'll go with the same plan and they'll be caught out next week. They'll be from one thing, Australia will win next week. And Australia will always think, sure, they could have won that game yesterday. They could have won. And that turn of Ori Savia, that was a game changer. And I mean, that's what Joe Schmidt will think, how close they can to winning getting the Bledisloe if they do win next week. But yeah, I don't see Razor changing. You know why, Scoop? Why they won't change? Because what will happen is we'll get all of these pundits on the breakdown everywhere and we'll be rejoicing that they retained the Bledisloe. The Bledisloe is locked up once again. It's been 24 years. The Bledisloe instead of looking at the performance of this team. And that's been the biggest downfall of them now. Razor's buddies, his friends over there, they played the rugby with him. The likes of Goldie, Moles, and all of those guys are there. They were too scared to attack, to ask these hard questions in New Zealand rugby was going on. When Razor started his job, that's when the first warning sign was there. So for me, I think that's one of the reasons that why New Zealand is sitting in this situation now. Not a lot of people are asking these hard questions when it comes to frontline media. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on this.
Yeah, fair enough. Guys, I mean, there's nothing more to say besides let's see what happens next week. And luckily in Perth, the kickoff will probably be around 12:30 CET time, which is good. Nice afternoon kickoff for us. And yeah, let's see what happens at Twickenham as well between the Springboks and Pumas or Argentina. And yeah, that's it, guys, for this Sunday. And looking forward to the results next week. And as we continue the Rugby Scoop podcast, have a wonderful Sunday. Enjoy Sunday roast there, strumming fly off. And Jade, keep the Avanti nice and warm. And then this week, the Allblacks, Bledisloe Cup secured against Australia in Perth. Springboks in Twickenham against Argentina. Who knows what will happen? Have a wonderful week. Have a wonderful Sunday. See you guys. This is the Rugby Scoop. Cheers. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys.